To the news, Peter, of these kinds of riots. Are you alarmed by what you've seen so far?
Well, my first thought, Liz, was did the Germans know they were going to have crowds this size if the reporting we're getting about 100,000 people was accurate? And of course, we are concerned that these protests stay peaceful and don't turn violent and nobody tries to take advantage of them. People in a democracy have a right to express themselves, but they also should keep it peaceful and civil.
Yeah, civil. Definitely is not what we're seeing right now. In the meantime, let's get to, as we keep one eye on this situation on the left of your screen, to sanctions against Russia and China. When it comes to North Korea, it hasn't worked to get them on our side in dealing with the North nuclear Korea. What effect will the new threat of choking off U.S. aid from more but smaller nations have? I mean, will you see success there? And we can put up on the screen smaller nations that are still trading with North Korea, even though they get millions and millions in aid from us.
Yeah, we have to think about all the tools in our toolbox to protect our national security. I mean, this is a deadly, serious threat we're facing, this first ICBM. And Liz, I would add that some people think that this missile, if it had been adjusted a bit, could fly even further and cover greater expanses of the United States beyond Alaska, where it's currently believed to be able to reach. So we have to do all sorts of things. It's military deterrence, it's economic and political sanctions, it's going after North Korea's overseas workers. I don't know if you're aware of this, but North Korea has between 50 and 100,000 overseas workers. The numbers are fuzzy. That brings between $1 and $2 billion of income to the North Korean regime every year, according to a UN report from a few years ago. So there's things that we can do there. So it's going to take cooperation. It may take some coercion. It's going to take some creative thinking. But my view is that North Korea is not going to come to the negotiating table as it stands right now. They're not willing to negotiate away their nuclear power, their nuclear weapons, their missile programs.
Well,
because
let me just question you on that. Donald Trump's new attempt, at least he articulated this morning in Poland at a meeting and at a speech. And also yesterday, Nikki Haley, right before the UN Security Council, said, no more trade with us if you are not going to condemn what North Korea has done. And therefore, I'm just wondering about these smaller nations that President Trump says, wait a minute, why are we giving you millions of dollars? Mauritania, Angola, Mozambique are getting millions and millions of dollars. I mean, in one case, I believe we've got Mozambique getting about 27 million. Algeria gets 39 million. So I'm wondering, maybe if you get more of the smaller traders, because it's not working with China, these countries doing business with North Korea, and you start to cut off that life supply of money to them, at least in aid, enough of them would certainly make a dent in North Korea, right?
We need more action and less and fewer words. I don't think we can look to Russia or China to be very helpful to us, because their interests are not exactly aligned with ours on the Korean Peninsula. But that's the challenge of sanctions, right? If some countries put sanctions on them and there's leakage through others, they're not very effective. So that's the real challenge for us. And once again, the policies of the past have not been successful, so we're looking for creative ways to put a maximum pressure on North Korea to contain their nuclear and ballistic missile threat, if not roll it back. I think there are real challenges in rolling it back at this point, but we need to do what we need to do, such as enhancing our missile defenses to protect ourselves, as well as have the conventional and nuclear deterrent forces to let North Korea understand that there'll be pain if they decide to take us on.
Tomorrow is the big meeting with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump face to face. Earlier in Poland, he said Russia could have gotten themselves meddling in our election. It was less than a full-throated rebuke, certainly of Russia. What do you think he has to bring up first? Is it that, or is that a sideshow?
Well, there's a lot of issues, obviously, in the U.S.-Russia relationship, Syria, Ukraine. There's this issue, cyber interference in American politics. There's the INF Treaty. I don't know if people don't talk much about this, but Russia is in violation of a 1987 missile treaty with the United States, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. It's threats against NATO. There's a lot of issues to bring up, and I will have to see if the president decides to bring them up. We may not know because this meeting may be closed, certainly to the press. But I think it's something that he should bring up, saying that Russia's cyber interference in the internal affairs of the United States will not be tolerated. And I think it could be as simple as that.
Peter Brookes, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, real focus on Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Something tells me that we will be speaking with Peter often in the future. Let's check on the markets. Stocks falling as protests ramped up in the last hour. Let me just focus on this, though. For the